He kissed me like his sister, and I knew I was alone again. I knew I had never stopped being alone in the first place, and maybe I never would. Just 2 weeks ago, he'd been chasing me like a hunter, and I was the prize he'd been searching for his entire life. "You're so beautiful," John would text me out of nowhere in the middle of the day, and a smile would bloom on my face. I'd blush, feeling this heat in my chest and this wonderful, terrible hope growing inside me. "I felt myself start to fall. I could fall in love with you," he whispered after the first time we made love, had sex, hooked up, whatever you want to call it. It was intoxicating. I'd wanted him from the very first moment we met. But I made him wait. I wanted him to feel like he'd earned me. It was our 4th date, and we were kissing on the couch. I inhaled the good, masculine smell of him, felt the strength in his arms, and for the first time in so long, I felt safe. Protected. Desired. Afterwards, we lay there tangled in each other. He ran his fingers through my hair as I rested my head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, letting myself believe, maybe, just maybe, it was beating for me. We had 2 perfect weeks. You know how perfect weeks go, flirty and sexy texts, laughing in bed, talking in vague terms about some soft focus, far-off future. The walls I'd built around my heart, brick after bitter brick, started to fall. And then, you know what happened, 20 passionate texts a day turned to 10 boring ones. "I can't wait to see you" turn to "I've been really busy with work." And then, like a nightmare I kept reliving, I was the one chasing him, feeling disgusted with myself for it. We got coffee, and the table between us felt like the Grand Canyon. He used to pull me toward him, pick me up in his arms, and kiss me like a movie star. This time, he just bent down a little and kissed me like his sister. Then he walked away, a ghost. I knew I'd never hear from him again. "Kate, I thought you finally learned this with Sean," my best friend Sally said as she hugged me. Sally, whose idea of a successful relationship was a guy remembering her name after a one-night stand, or at least paying for the Uber home, showed up with ice cream and bad advice 33 minutes after I texted her. "They got you again, Kate. He doesn't exist. You'd have found him by now. You're better off just being alone." I lay there that night, hugging my pillow, alone, just like she said, feeling a raw wound where all my hope used to be. I thought about Bill, whom I'd met at a drunken party in college. Or Mark from work, who chased me until I finally agreed to go out with him. We had 3 dates. And then he wouldn't even look me in the eye. Or Chris, my ex-fiancé, 5 years together, only 2 of which were good, but I didn't want to be alone, so I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the tub of ice cream rumble in my belly and the nausea in my heart. I thought about starting over again, about downloading Tinder or OkCupid or whatever weird app people were using these days. Since when do guys actually walk up and ask you out anymore? And I thought about John, how sincere he'd seemed. How you couldn't fake looking at a woman like that. I wondered what happened. Why he pulled away. What I could do to make him want me again. What I could do to make him chase me. Hunt me, worship me the way I so desperately wanted him to. "Hello. It's Michael." The deep, kind voice startled me as I stared at the bald guy with penetrating eyes on my computer screen. We were Skyping. I'd been trying to talk to him for 3 weeks. His name was Michael Fiore. When I scoured the internet, desperate to understand why John had pulled away, Michael's name kept appearing. He'd written books, created programs about getting your ex back, and even appeared on The Rachel Ray Show. Over 2 million women followed him on Facebook. I prayed he could help me. "Hi, Michael. My name is Kate," I babbled. I couldn't believe I was talking to him. I'd lied to get this call, told his team I had a blog and a podcast and wanted to interview him. His staff had said he was too busy for one-on-one consulting. "Yeah, you too," he said, polite but distant. "So, how can I help you? Are we recording? What do you want to talk about?" Ice filled my chest. What if he found out I'd lied? I wanted to talk about why men pull away, I stammered. Like, it starts out great, and then after a few months, or years, things change, and you become invisible, he interrupted. Yeah, I get this question a lot. Every day. It's the big one. Then, suspiciously, "What's the name of your show again?" I panicked. I don't actually have a show. I'm just a woman from the Midwest." The tears started. "I just don't know what to do. I met this guy, and I thought it was different, but it wasn't. It hurts so much, and I feel so stupid." I told him everything, about John, about every man who'd ever left me. "Listen, Kate," he said softly. "You're not stupid. You just fell in love. I want to help you, but do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? Or the truth?" I hesitated. "What do you mean?" he sighed, suddenly exhausted. "I've been doing this a long time. I've helped a lot of women and men. Years ago, I created something scary. A way to make him worship you like the queen you are." "That's great," I said. "How much?" "I don't have much money, but I could do a payment plan, Kate. I don't sell it. Not to anyone. I made it, showed a few women, and it didn't go well. They wanted the lie. They hated the truth." A beat of silence. "I feel for you, Kate, but it's been nice meeting you." "I need to." He reached for his mouse. "No. I want the truth," I begged. "Whatever it is, no matter how much it hurts. I'm not a little girl anymore. I don't need fantasy. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to date again." He bit his lip. "I shouldn't do this. Every guy I know told me not to. They said it would destroy my career." Then, firmly, "I'm sorry. I have to go. Good luck." The screen went black. I crawled into bed and cried. I tried making a new Tinder profile, but every selfie just showed the sadness in my eyes. I messaged Michael again, on Skype, through his PR team. I begged, and then, 3 days later, a miracle, an email from an address I didn't recognize. "Kate, you don't know me, but I work for Michael. I can help you. I can send you the program he mentioned. I've been through it. It's tough. It's painful. It goes against everything I thought I knew about men, but it works. It saved my relationship. I'll send it to you, but you have to promise you won't share it. You'll keep an open mind, you won't tell Michael, you'll do what it says." It saved me. "I want it to save you, too." I wrote back, "Yes. I promise." 4 hours later, a link, I log in, a website. She was right, it was hard to watch. Hard to listen to. Videos, worksheets, techniques about male psychology. What men really think. Why they really pull away, and my God, it was nothing like I'd imagined. The next day, I texted John differently. Just 3 words, something I'd learned from Michael. 10 minutes later, he replied. He asked me out for a drink. Over the next few weeks, I followed the program. I printed the worksheets. I rewatched the videos, and slowly, day by day, John changed. He texted me first. He chased me again. He looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. When he kissed me, it was primal. Passionate. Real. Sally was stunned. "What the hell did you do? Drug him?" I just smiled. I learned a few things. Now, I'm sharing this with you, because if you're tired of feeling invisible, if you're ready to understand men in a way that actually works, then this is your chance. Michael's Make Him Worship You program isn't about games or manipulation. It's about truth, the truth men will never tell you themselves. And right now, for a limited time, you can get it for just $37, originally $297. But you have to act now, because once Michael realizes how undervalued this is, the price will go up. Click below. Change your love life forever.